are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. After months of debate, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finally gave the green light for impeachment proceedings against President Joe Biden. The case comes down to just 6 words: public offices are not for sale. Looking to next year, Biden's re-election is coming under fire from Democrats. Not only are the president's polls bad, but calls are growing for the president to step aside. A top Washington Post columnist added his name to that group, creating quite a buzz in political circles. In Virginia, Democrats are running from the Richmond State House candidate who performed sex acts on the internet for cash. She, meanwhile, is blaming Republicans for invading her privacy, as if that excuse is going to work. And how big is the Taylor Swift phenomenon? USA Today is hiring a Swiftie reporter. The job pays $100,000 a year. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to Off the Press. Go to offthepress.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. Leave it to the Democrats to concoct all kinds of wacky talking points that they want us to believe. So Joe Biden's newest defense is that Hunter Biden is just an informal advisor to Joe Biden through all of this. That's all, just his son calling and informally advising him. And then, of course, Joe just loved his son too damn much. That literally is their defense of Joe Biden's connection to Hunter Biden. Well, of course he loved him too damn much. Wouldn't you love a son who's bringing in $20 million through all kinds of shell companies into the Biden family coffers? Of course you would. This is the White House today.
Why was the president at those meetings on those phone calls?
Well, again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family. And what the GOP's own witness testified in this case is that that's exactly what the president was doing.
That's all it is. Don't mind the money flowing back and forth. Don't mind all of Hunter Biden's crew members, as we'll call them because they're like the mafia, riding around on Air Force Two. Don't mind the conference calls, all of that stuff. He just loves his son. Just checking in. So if you want proof that the Democrats are in cahoots with the media through all of this, there's word out now. I saw this in the Daily Mail. There's word out now that Biden's White House will send letters to CNN and the New York Times and other top outlets, as the headline reads, demanding them to probe the lies behind the GOP plan to impeach the president. The lies behind this, okay? This is some of what it reads. This is the plan that literally they're sending to CNN and the New York Times. After nearly 3 months of investigating, House Republicans haven't been able to turn up any evidence of the president doing anything wrong, the White House is writing to the media outlets. House Republicans are publicly stating they have uncovered none of these things. So this is all their little game plan. Well, watch CNN fall right in line, lock, step, and barrel.
I mean, we do have bank records, devices, laptops, travel records, changes in administration policy. Seems like pretty strong evidence to me.
None of which links President Biden to...
Well, it was Joe Biden on the phone.
None of which...
He was calling into the meetings. Wait, Abby, are you actually trying to tell your viewers that you don't believe that Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business deals?
It's not
a
about...
hard case.
If you had evidence that Joe Biden was linked to Hunter Biden's business deals in a way that is illegal, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You would probably have the votes for an impeachment inquiry, but you don't because of people like Ken Buck.
Ken Buck is in there too, by the way. I'm going to go through some of the evidence, okay? We can do that, and I applaud Matt Gaetz for going on CNN, walking into enemy territory. She brings up Ken Buck. This is right out of the Democrats' playbook the White House sent to the media. Republican Representative Ken Buck said that the time for impeachment is the time when there's evidence linking President Biden. If there's evidence linking President Biden to high crime and misdemeanor, but that evidence doesn't exist right now. CNN literally reads this, and they run with it. Watch.
I have not seen any evidence that links President Biden to Hunter Biden's activities. I think it was a mistake to start talking about the impeachment inquiry. I think it's a good thing that we aren't voting on it on the floor, because we've got a lot of work to do if we're going to pass a continuing resolution by September 30th and avert a government shutdown.
So there you have it. I don't know what Ken Buck's talking about, because I think there's plenty of evidence. You've got the media ignoring the fake email addresses from Joe Biden, where he's literally queuing Hunter Biden into all kinds of foreign policy stuff, $20 million going through shell companies, Joe Biden's conference calls with all kinds of foreign businessmen on the line. You got Air Force Two acting as a getaway car with Hunter Biden on board as the bag man. And then, of course, don't forget the shakedown phone calls. It goes over and over and over again, but the media wants to ignore all of it. Well, we won't. Joining me now is another woman who will not ignore it. She's from Colorado. The Republican Lauren Boebert is with us. Congresswoman, it's great to have you back on the show.
Grant, it's great to be on with you.
All right, so what do you make now of the Democrats saying Joe Biden just loved his son too much and he's just an informal advisor?
Grant, the Democrats live on a full spin cycle. They will try to avert anything that they possibly can when the narrative doesn't fit what they want it to. We've seen them do this for years. We've seen them do this with President Trump. They've created things around him to impeach him that really had no evidence, that was completely false and made up. And now we have come to the point in the Oversight Committee where we have seen these 20 shell companies, where we have heard the testimony from Devin Archer talking about Joe Biden being involved in the phone calls. We know that Hunter Biden went on Air Force Two to these other countries with his father. And we are seeing the direct connection and the $5 million bribes from Ukrainian oligarchs. Grant, I'm ready to impeach the commander-in-chief now. Currently, we have an impeachment inquiry that is still a positive step towards holding Joe Biden accountable for his actions. But Joe Biden spent 47 years in public office engaging in corruption and trying to cover it up. I want to see the man held accountable.
Quite frankly, I don't even think you need the inquiry. I think all the evidence is there right now. As you mentioned, you spelled it out. The evidence is there. You can impeach him. I think there's plenty of evidence to go to trial with. You know, talking about the media, I want to play this little montage for you, Congresswoman, because this sums it up. This is the difference between the fake Russian collusion and the very real China corruption. Okay, watch this.
Are you worried or concerned about the potential of collusion between elements of the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence services?
Yes.
Do you think he's guilty?
I think he's crazy.
I think he's guilty?
Yes.
What's he guilty of?
The President of the United States lied on the campaign trail. He said they never had any contact with Russians during the campaign. That obviously was a lie.
For more than a year, the President of the United States has claimed the Russia story is a hoax. Now, a stunning indictment says it is not.
They call it the Biden crime family. None of that's been proven. There's no evidence of that.
They keep pushing and they keep finding absolutely nothing.
They're going to try and impeach Joe Biden based on charges that don't exist and evidence that doesn't exist.
Congresswoman, it's amazing. There was no evidence for President Trump, and they jump on him like you know what, and yet there's all kinds of evidence for Joe Biden, and they ignore it.
Right. And Grant, this new House majority that the American people have granted us with have actually produced exactly what the criminal investigative IRS whistleblowers brought to our committee. We have the same evidence that they spent years digging up. During Joe Biden's tenure as vice president, Biden endangered the security of the United States by accepting millions of dollars from our foreign adversaries and even enabled his drug addict son to influence the domestic domestic policy of a foreign nation. Joe used his position as VP to enrich the Biden crime family. Him and his crackhead son made tens of millions of dollars, and they used taxpayer-funded resources such as Air Force Two to travel to China for business meetings. He knew this when he was campaigning to be president, and this now compromises him as president of the United States. He's been lying to the American people for years, and he claimed to have never even spoken to Hunter Biden about his business deals, and then he never received money from China. He even claimed that he had never been on the phone with Hunter Biden's business associates. We know this to be false now. It is time to hold him accountable. I want to see him impeached. I don't know how long the speaker expects an inquiry to take, but I want something done much sooner than later. I want to see a vote on impeachment for Joe Biden.
We were told that subpoenas would fly 8 months ago. It's been 8 months. We haven't seen any real subpoenas. And when I talk about subpoenas, I want the Biden family.
What are you saying?
What? Exactly. Do we get Hunter Biden subpoenaed during the impeachment inquiry?
This needs to be the first subpoena that is sent out. Certainly, we're going to subpoena bank records and documents, but we need to have Hunter Biden in before our committee yesterday. This is drug on for far too long. I get it. Republicans are purists. We want to go through and just go through that lawful path of crossing our T's and dotting our eyes. Democrats don't give a rat's you-know-what about that. They drag everybody before them. They don't care about order. They don't care about the actual rules. They create their own rules. Heck, we are a self-governing body, so we govern ourselves. Let's create our own rules in this House majority and bring in Hunter Biden and make him answer to the American people for his father's corrupt business dealings and selling out the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, we all know he'll take the fifth when he shows up, if ever, in Congress. But that's okay, because we put him on display, and that needs to happen. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, it's always good to see you. I hope you had a good break when you were in Colorado, and we will see you again real soon.
Lots of work in the district. It was wonderful to be home, but we have lots of work to do here in D.C. Thanks so much for having me, Grant.
Back to the swamp. You got it, Lauren. Thank you so much. Look, folks, so here's the thing. Now we're going to move towards the possible impeachment of Joe Biden. What is the right move here? All right. I would like to see actually move very quickly to impeach Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, and maybe Secretary Mayorkas. You get to the bottom of that corruption, all the other dominoes start to fall around Joe Biden, and maybe you take it and you slow this impeachment inquiry, even though I wanted it a year ago. I wanted him impeached a year ago, but now the clock is ticking. You don't want to give the Democrats a chance to put somebody else up for president. You've got the clock running out. October, November, December are filing deadlines in many states. Joe Biden is the guy that you want to run against, right? But he's also a criminal. How do you weigh all of this? Well, bringing in now former congressman and current Truth Social CEO, a close confidant of President Trump, Devin Nunes is with us. Congressman, it's great to see you.
Grant, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
All right, so you've been so instrumental in all of these things, the investigations that you were involved in when you were in Congress. Now we get to the idea of impeaching Joe Biden. Politically speaking here, what is the best way, in your opinion, to play this out?
Well, I think you were onto something, and I would actually say let's put the politics totally aside because the facts need to get out. And I think when the American public discovers what actually has been going on here, it's really important. And Grant, you mentioned something that is key here. You mentioned Attorney General Garland. That is exactly right, because the Biden crime family, that will all come out. And it will come out and when normal people look at this and they say, what happened here? How is it that the DOJ and the FBI had this information in 2015 and 16 and 17? Most importantly, I was the lead investigator when they used the Ukraine impeachment hoax on President Trump. All kinds of documents were hidden from the United States Congress. Now, where am I going with this? The Department of Justice and the FBI, under the leadership of many people that were on Team Obama, continue to be on Team Obama, have moved into the Biden White House, are the culprits here. They're the ones who have done and who have destroyed this country. They're basically ripping the fabric of this country apart because you don't have a country if you don't have a justice system that works properly and intelligence agencies that work properly. If they don't work properly, as you know, it's been said many times, you end up with a banana republic. So, Grant, where you start here, and I've advised the Republicans of this, I think Newt Gingrich, former Speaker Newt Gingrich, has said the same thing, that you're going to let a lot of criminals go here if you do not focus on how did the Biden crime family get to be the Biden crime family. They got to be the Biden crime family because of Team Obama, Team Clinton, and all of the horrible criminal enterprise that's going on right now within the Department of Justice and other areas of the government, that guess what? Attorney General Garland happens to be the head of it right now, but there's many people below him that are a big problem.
All right. So if you move to impeach Attorney General Garland, right, and now you start that investigation, you get to the FBI, the cover-up, as you said, to allow the Biden crime family to become the Biden crime family. Now the question becomes, does this Republican-controlled Congress have the stones, to put it bluntly, to start an impeachment proceeding that would lead to all of this? Because we're tired of just these investigations. We're told investigation, and nothing comes of it. Do they have the guts to do this and then put that on display for the American people while we've got an impeachment inquiry going into Joe Biden?
Well, I think the key is, look, they have 3 committees. That's a lot of members of Congress. You just had Ms. Boebert on from Colorado. She's on one of those committees. So there's plenty of subpoena power. And the key is that if you got to start from the bottom and work up. So if you look at how did they kind of unearth all this stuff to get to the impeachment inquiry? They started with bank records, right? So the same is true with a lot of these players that look, there's no secret here. There's only a dozen to 2 dozen of them that many people know the names. Many are still in government. Some are out of government. Many were involved in the 51 spies who lie right before the 2020 election. Many were involved in this whole idea that there was a Russian disinformation campaign. Many were involved in the Russia hoax. All of those people need to have their bank records subpoenaed. They need to have all their communications subpoenaed. Once you learn all that, then you're going to put together how the Biden crime family was created. So I know that people are tired of investigations, but the way you go and get the criminals is you go and get the facts, and then that will lead to the evidence that you need. Because, look, there's a whole bunch of people that need to be prosecuted here. At the end of the day, Attorney General Garland either needs to prosecute these people or be impeached for not prosecuting these people, because there's so many of them that have done wrong.
All right, so you know what I'm going to say. Here we are 2 years into Joe Biden's presidency. We still haven't subpoenaed Hunter Biden and some people around him. There's no way we get an investigation like that into Merrick Garland and Secretary Mayorkas before this election cycle.
A lot of the work is done, Grant. I don't think I don't mean to make it complicated. That's what I was saying. It's actually not complicated. There's 3 committees. All they have to do is separate out. There's 3 committees. There's basically 2 dozen players at the most. Those are the people they need to go target. While at the same time, I'm not saying delay bringing in Hunter Biden. I mean, that can happen right away. But all of this other work needs to be done, I think, in short order, or else you're going to let the real criminals skate. And that's what I worry about, because I think, look, what's going to happen here, and you asked me about the politics of this. I just don't think Biden's going to make it through. You saw the last few days, you saw over the weekend, the Democrats who control the fake news media, they're starting to turn the heat up. They've been reluctant to turn the heat up because they know that once that heat gets turned up, it splatters on them, because they're all culpable. Why? Because of what we've been talking about. They've let this all happen. Obama, Clinton, DOJ, FBI, all the same people let all this happen right under their nose. So, they become part of it. And ironically, Grant, they used a RICO statute, which means criminal enterprise, against President Trump. And they know exactly what to do, because whatever they accuse you of doing, like they did to Donald Trump, is what they've been doing since at least 2015.
Well, I actually put together a RICO case against the Biden crime family, and really Obama is the top crime boss, and I drew the lines all the way, and it looked like a mafia chart. We
and it's
could
true.
do the same thing, because
I haven't seen your chart. But I haven't seen your chart, but I'm sure you and I agree. I don't even have to see it, because it's probably the same.
I guarantee you we do. Devin Nunes, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you sharing some time with us tonight, and we'll see how this all plays out.
My pleasure, Grant. Great to be with you.
Absolutely. It's interesting insight. And again, we get another key player in Devin Nunes, like Kash Patel, who also says Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, is really the key to figure out how the Biden crime family came to exist. Maybe we call it the Obama crime family. How far up does it go? All right, coming up, the Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, impeachment trial is raising a lot more questions to answer who is behind it all. You want to talk about a deep state? The deep state is being exposed in deep red Texas. That's up next. Welcome back, everyone. Let me be clear about something. There is no greater conservative warrior to push back and win in the courtroom against all kinds of radical left policies than Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. So why is he being impeached? Well, the answer is very clear. You've got squishbag rhino Republicans in name only, that are joining with Democrats because they like their power more than they do the people they're supposed to be serving. Now, this impeachment of Ken Paxton, and I've been watching this trial, it's fascinating, is about three things. It's about revenge, because Ken Paxton beat George P. Bush, George W. Bush's nephew, who wanted that job badly. Ken Paxton smoked him. Then Ken Paxton, as I mentioned, is a prolific fighter and warrior of Biden's radical policies. He's winning in the courtroom. They can't stand that. And then his willingness to confront the deep state and federal agents, for that matter. Well, when you confront the deep state, the radicals, the deep state, they bite back and they recruit anyone they can to wage war on you. Well, these so-called whistleblowers who came forward, it's now been revealed they have very little evidence. No, not little evidence. They have no evidence against Ken Paxton. They are being exposed, okay, of what this is really about. Just watch this exchange.
Why haven't you arranged it before then? Again, speaking for myself, I thought it was crazy, and I was hoping the Attorney General would drop it. He didn't.
Why did you think it was crazy?
The idea that the state of Texas Attorney General's office would go investigate the federal courthouse, investigate federal agents, and also state agents that were task force officers on the raid.
So wait a second. You want the feds to investigate the feds? That hasn't worked out. That's a whistleblower there, so-called whistleblower, who's so upset that Ken Paxton would push back against the federal government. How dare he investigate federal agents? How dare he investigate a federal judge who all appeared to be outside the bounds of the law and quite possibly the Constitution? They don't like that. So they move forward and, of course, they impeach Ken Paxton. Well, this trial's been playing out, and it's been fascinating. And I want to bring in now the executive director of Texas for Strong Borders, Carrie Cheshire, who's a big supporter of Ken Paxton and really the rule of law. Carrie, welcome to the program.
Grant, happy to be here.
Carrie, what's your assessment of why this impeachment is playing out right now in Texas?
Well, I think you called it really great from the get-go. This is an effort by the Texas deep state, the Bush family, Karl Rove, to really go after Ken Paxton, who's been a conservative stalwart. He's been, I would argue, the most conservative attorney general in the country, leading the fight against amnesty, leading the fight against DACA, and somebody we need on the battlefield right now, considering the legal battles the state of Texas is in over its efforts to secure the border. When you look at this case, it's an issue of Mike Pence type Republicans in the Attorney General's office who then went to the FBI that Ken Paxton thought was actually targeting him, targeting Texas citizens. He was absolutely right. And ultimately, they came in on bogus charges. They tried to defeat him in an election. They failed. They tried to defeat him in an impeachment. I think they will ultimately fail. But it's been a media circus. You've seen everything going on in the Texas Senate. Lots of folks have been watching the trial. I hope ultimately that Ken Paxton is acquitted and returned to office, and that is what I expect will happen. Well,
he certainly deserves to. I haven't seen any evidence played out here. No physical evidence, no documentary evidence, no eyewitness evidence. And you talk about the deep state and the Bushes. There was an exchange I saw this week that is pretty amazing. This guy, Johnny Sutton, he's the attorney for the three whistleblowers. Let me just play the exchange for you, them talking about Johnny Sutton.
You're telling me that an attorney, a very experienced, prominent criminal defense attorney, decided to do this for free, for you, for 3 years. Is that right?
No, sir. It's not for free.
What's the arrangement?
We will pay him for the services that he's rendered to us.
Is he billing you hourly?
He is recording his hours, is my understanding. I have not received a bill from him.
Not in 3 years. Carrie, as you know, Johnny Sutton turns out to be a George Bush-appointed U.S. attorney in the Western District of Texas. He actually went after those Border Patrol agents for basically defending America, put them in jail. President Trump ultimately pardoned them. Close confidant of George P. Bush. George P. Bush, by the way, files to get his law license back on the very same day 3 years ago that those whistleblowers went to the FBI. Johnny Sutton at the heart of all of this. Carrie, what do you make of it?
I think it's just the evidence that we need, right? There's no evidence that Ken Paxton has done any wrongdoing. But what this trial has revealed is that there is evidence that there is a Texas deep state that was trying to do him in. There's evidence that the Bush family, that Karl Rove, that rogue actors within kind of the law enforcement cabal here in the state of Texas, none of them liked Ken Paxton, that he was too conservative, he was too abrasive. He didn't understand that we do things the way that we're used to doing them. And all of these people ultimately had, I think, contempt for the democratically elected Attorney General for the state of Texas, who's been elected in 2014, elected in 2018, and then reelected here in 2022. Ultimately, what you have is a gang of Democrats and Republicans in the Texas House who teamed up to go after Ken Paxton. I think this was part of a corrupt deal brokered by our Democrat enabling Speaker of the Texas House, Dade Phelan, who wanted to give Democrats a win by going after the person who challenged the integrity of the 2020 election that we know had some serious problems. Ken Paxton took the issue all the way to the Supreme Court for a number of states, including Texas. And I think this is one of the things he wanted to give out to them to hold on to power as part of a corrupt deal.
And again, that gets to the power that we're talking about. You know, so many politicians, and I want everyone around the country to realize this. You would think Texas would be a great red legislature. It's such a scam. It's not. They now basically share power with Democrats because they're so concerned about power over the people. And they offer up no evidence, these whistleblowers. I'm going to play one more clip for you and then get your response. Cut 9, guys, back in the studio. Roll that for me.
On August 13th of 2020, you had absolutely no evidence, physical, documentary, eyewitness, or circumstantial, that Ken Paxton was being bribed by anyone, did you?
I disagree with your statement. I had circumstantial evidence.
Oh, you had circumstantial evidence?
Yes.
Well, at some point on August 13th, did you go to your boss, Ken Paxton, and say, Attorney General, I'm concerned. I have circumstantial evidence that you've taken a bribe. Did you do that?
Not on the 13th of August. I did it later.
You didn't do that because you knew you would get fired, right?
I said possible bribery. I didn't have evidence to confront him with.
Kerry, I mean, what better moment than that? You couldn't script it for a TV show better than that.
It's like we said, Grant, there's no evidence of any wrongdoing by Attorney General Ken Paxton. The only thing that we have the evidence of is that he is an American first patriot who has fought against amnesty, who's fought to secure the border, and has consistently and aggressively stood up for citizens all across the state of Texas. And look, ultimately, I think the Texas Senate is a conservative body. I think Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has done an incredible job of presiding over this hearing fairly and impartially. And I think ultimately citizens across the state of Texas are activating and speaking out. We've had a tremendous amount of folks contact us at Texans for Strong Borders at strongborders.org, speaking out on this issue, saying that they want Ken Paxton returned to office as part of the deal here in the state of Texas. He's actually been removed from office, and there's a temporary AG appointed by the governor while this trial is going on. I think it's very important that we get a proven conservative fighter, the one that Texans have voted for, back in the Attorney General's office, and I hope that that'll happen this week.
In my perfect world, you would have Republican senators stand up and say, end this charade right now, and literally end it, because it's a ridiculous trial. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars, and certainly it's an assault on our freedoms. Kerry Cheshire, I got to get you on about borders, because Texans for Strong Borders is doing great work on that front here in Texas. So next time, come on, we'll talk about that.
Happy to do it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight. All right, folks, you should choose an air purifier like your life depends on it, because it just might. More than 35,000 wildfires have devastated the United States this year. The toxins and particles in wildfire smoke can penetrate our lungs and threaten our health. That's why EnviroCleanse developed military-grade air purification for your home. And they just announced their biggest sale of the year. A massive 30% off during their Labor Day sale, and it's still going on. EnviroCleanse is specifically designed to wipe out airborne chemicals and viruses known to cause illness, allergies, and of course, difficulty breathing. Even toxic gases and particles found in wildfire smoke are no match for EnviroCleanse. And EnviroCleanse comes with a free professional air quality monitor, so you know your family is breathing purified air. Now's the time to save 30% off your air purification unit. Get the free air quality monitor and fast free shipping. That's a $250 savings. Here's how you do it. Visit ekpure.com. Use the code word America. ekpure.com, code word America. ekpure.com, code word America. All right, California is using state tax dollars to help expose kids' radical transgender ideology. And how much of your money was wasted during the COVID pandemic? I'll get you the answers to those questions up next. Welcome back, everybody. Check out this headline from our friends over at Open the Books. It says, invent your own gender. Governor Gavin Newsom encourages youth with millions in taxpayer support. Yes, California is spending millions of taxpayer dollars funneling it to a nonprofit that encourages kids to literally create their own genders. I don't even understand this stuff. How about a fox gender? Do you know what fox gender is? Listen to this. I'm going to read you from some of this. Neo-genders and neo-identities are words other than man and women, which individuals use to describe their gender. Neo-genders may describe a gender as personal, aesthetic, synthetic, or headspace-oriented. A neo-gender may have a corresponding neo-pronoun other than he or her. For example, someone could identify as, quote, fox gender and use fox self pronoun. This does not necessarily mean the person believes he or she is a fox, but rather the person identifies with aspects of a fox. You have to be, I can't even read it anymore. You've got to be a total nutcase to identify as a fox. That goes for an 8-year-old, that goes for a 20-year-old, that goes for an 80-year-old. If you identify with a fox, you need to be in a mental institution. And what the state is trying to do is hide this mental illness from the parents. And they're using taxpayer dollars to do it. Well, joining me now is the founder and CEO of Open the Books. Adam Andrzejewski is back with us. Adam, welcome back.
Great to be here, Grant. Thanks for having me back. Look, the sentence in the California public schools used to be something like, she said she would do it herself. But now that sentence is transformed. It's Fox said Fox would do it Fox self.
I mean, I got to tell you, this is literally written in this stuff. This is utterly, we have gone so far outside the bounds of normalcy, outside common sense. And I think the worst part that you uncovered here is that they have a concentrated effort to hide these kids that want to identify as something else from the parents. And they actively tell teachers to hide it from the parents.
Governor Gavin Newsom is pushing this radical ideology with millions of dollars of California state taxpayer money. He, in fact, doubled their grant request and extended it out through 2026. So now a total of $2.3 million is going to be poured into this program. And it could be extended after that and beefed up during it. So look, you can identify in terms of noun genders like a fox or a moon, fox self, moon self, or even grant emojis like smile self or smiley self.
I mean, you know, I laugh, but this is the saddest thing ever. If you've got a kid doing this, there's really serious problems. I want to read from you from another cutout that we have from your article. This is about this is the Gender Spectrum Manager. Basically writes about hiding this. The youth may request, obviously, don't use these pronouns around my parents, okay? But when you two are alone or in spaces where their parents are not there, or the youth has indicated that it's safe, making sure to use those neo-pronouns or making sure to refer to them in ways that make them feel gender affirmed. So they're basically saying if parents aren't supportive of this, just hide it from the parents and do what the kids want. Do what the kids want. I mean, that makes no sense in parenting whatsoever.
Well, it's a Marxist philosophy that the state owns the child, not the parents. And so you do have this 6-page gender support plan that identifies the facilities and the adults at the school that will help manage the approved pronouns that the child chooses. And parents are an option. If they won't affirm the pronouns of their child, then they can be cut out of the process. And that 6-page plan, that gender support plan, goes into the detail on how they do it. So Grant, it's their little secret with the pronouns and the gender identity of the students in their care.
Yeah. Can I ask you real quick, because I want to ask you about COVID money from a federal level, how much we've spent so far. How much taxpayer money in California? Have you guys figured it out? How much is going to this transgender craziness?
Well, there are tens of millions of dollars flowing into the entire complex, and they're pushing it through the mental health complex within the state, which the first partner, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, the wife of Governor Gavin Newsom, is tip of the spear on.
Unbelievable. Okay. Turning now to COVID. Yet another great investigation here. We've spent apparently $4.68 trillion on COVID. I'm going to give cutout 7 here, guys. If you could run this. I'm going to show you this image from your report. Explain to me what we're looking at here as far as the money goes.
So these are the total outlays on about $4.7 trillion thrown at the coronavirus and aid across the entire country. And so if you break that down, at the end of the day, there's going to be between $400 billion and $500 billion that have just been stolen from the programs. And that would only be about 10%. So the numbers may go up from there. These are also on mistaken and improper payments where the wrong person was paid under the wrong set of rules, the wrong amount.
So you've got unemployment insurance estimated, and you say anywhere between $100 billion for this unemployment stuff. I'm sure the waste, fraud, and abuse on this program, when you're talking about $4.5 trillion of spending, is through the roof. Have you even gotten to half of what it could be?
No, and neither have the government auditors. So here's how it breaks down from our perspective. On the COVID aid to small businesses, administered through the Small Business Administration, there was going to be about $200 billion that were stolen by con artists, criminals, and crime syndicates from around the world. And you've got about, I think it's going to shake out at the end of the day, about another $200 billion stolen on unemployment aid. And then you have a myriad of federal programs where there were dollars stolen, even in federal programs like SNAP or the payments to families, the payments on to families, needy families. Like there was $7 billion stolen out of those two programs.
It's amazing. Well, I know you have your work cut out for you, and it's great the things that you uncover that the federal government is not uncovering. I'm grateful for Open the Books. Adam Andrzejewski, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
All right, absolutely. So talk about COVID money. But you want to get your hands on some. You don't need to scam anybody. You could literally do it legitimately, like I have done. You say you've done the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people. You pulled your business through the pandemic. Now you could get up to $26,000 per employee. Just go to covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. There are government funds available, and only a few businesses have actually tapped into this money that allows you for an employee retention tax credit for having your employees on through COVID, that again, $26,000 per employee. The system is very, very complicated. The program is not easy to navigate, which is why my friends over at mycovidtaxrelief.org can help you through this. They got tax experts on the staff, all working for just a share of the percentage of cash that they get you. So they were very helpful to me and my business. I've referred them to my friends. I've referred them to many of you. In fact, many Real America's Voice business owners have been using covidtaxrelief.org. I urge you to use them too. covidtaxrelief.org. Again, $26,000 per employee. The website is covidtaxrelief.org. That's covidtaxrelief.org. All right, coming up after the break, that escaped murderer in Pennsylvania is finally caught. But the media keeps leaving out very important details about this. One detail in particular, he shouldn't even be in the country. We'll talk about that next.
shortly after 8 a.m., our suspect was captured. I want to say, first and foremost, thank God there were no injuries to law enforcement or to the public. We obviously became deeply concerned after the suspect was able to steal a weapon. He was apprehended this morning with no shots fired.
All right, that's the Pennsylvania governor, a Democrat, talking about Danilo Cavalcante, that prison escapee in Pennsylvania who has been on the run for 2 weeks, a 2-week chase. Law enforcement was unable to track him down. Do you know that Pennsylvania governor did not once mention that Cavalcante is an illegal alien? He was wanted for murder in Brazil, killed his girlfriend, killed somebody in Brazil. Then he killed his girlfriend here and was put in jail and was serving time there before he escaped. So thankfully, he was captured today. He was bloodied, bruised, no shoes. A canine hero, a dog is the one that really sniffed him out. And guess what? The media, too. Not one mention that this evildoer is an illegal alien.
Hundreds of officers are working right now to find 34-year-old Danilo Cavalcante.
The nearly 2-week manhunt for the convicted killer who escaped from a Pennsylvania prison has come to an end.
Authorities have confirmed the capture of Danilo Cavalcante, the escaped killer in Pennsylvania who had been on the run for nearly 2 weeks.
And he will continue his life without prison term for the murder of his former girlfriend.
That the wanted man, Danilo Cavalcante, was escaping from the same spot in the Chester County prison as another man.
All right, now, we didn't selectively edit any of that. We listened to every single piece of that coverage. Not one time did any of those media outlets acknowledge, reveal that he is an illegal alien that never should have been in this country if we had secure borders, or we would have hunted him down knowing that Brazil wants him. Instead, we allowed him to kill his girlfriend in the United States and then escape and wreak havoc on society. Talk about scaring the bejesus out of somebody. Imagine being in your home and this Cavalcante character comes in with a stolen .22 rifle and is in your house. That's what happened this morning. That homeowner, a dad and husband, called in to Fox News. Listen to this.
Well, I heard a noise. I looked for something to defend myself. The only thing I could grab was a picture frame of my wife and kids, which didn't seem like the best plan. And I flicked the lights on and off, and then he flicked the lights back. And that was the moment where my wife was already on with 911, but I was like, he's downstairs. Call 911 right now. So it was a scary moment.
You better believe it was a scary moment. He seems very calm. He did what he could. I'm not going to criticize him, but I am going to issue this warning. A picture frame? You've got an escaped murderer who's in your house with a .22 rifle, and you pick up a picture frame. I guess you grab whatever you can. Folks, this is the reason why you train, why you get comfortable, and you have a firearm in the house. And I don't mean a firearm hidden in your closet, locked in a box, unloaded. Could you imagine this guy's flicking lights at you and you got to go into your closet, find the gun, unlock it, load it. And if you're a real liberal loon who hates guns, you probably don't have a magazine loaded and ready to go. This is why you need a gun next to you, near you, safe from unauthorized users. That's the most important thing. You don't want a kid getting it. A fingerprint safe next to the bed is one of the greatest things to use. But you go, you get it, and you are ready. If Cavalcante was in my house, here's what I do. Do I go down looking for him? No. I take up a defensive position. I make sure my family is safe. I get them safe. And maybe I take high ground if I'm upstairs, I know the house, he doesn't, with a flashlight, I blind him and I blow that son of a gun away if he enters any frame of my vision. That's it. Last house he ever enters. You don't want to go downstairs looking for him. You don't want to get jumped and then your family's dead. You want to make sure you have superiority when it comes to approaching and engaging with someone like that. How are you going to win if you don't have a firearm with you? And I'm going to ask all of you out there, if you're a man's job is to protect his family. I'm not saying a woman can't do it. They certainly can. They could maybe call me a sexist. But if you're a man and you're at home with your family and your wife, you better be able to protect them. And the only way you can do it is if you own a firearm and know how to use it. So go get one, train, get good and comfortable with it, and you and your family will be much safer for it. All right, you want to talk about safety? How about financial safety? Why don't you protect yourself with gold today? You can do it by getting in touch with my friends over at Birch Gold. All you have to do is text America to the number 989898. We just saw now this G20 meeting. They want a global digital currency. Okay, what's that designed to do? One world order, track your finances. They can't do that if you own gold. Start hoarding it. Put it in your gun safe. Okay, text America to the number 989898. My friends at Birch Gold can help you. Maybe take an existing IRA, take a portion of that, put it in a precious metals IRA, or as I said, just start collecting gold. Birch Gold can help. Text America to the number 989898. Hundreds, if not thousands, of our Real America's Voice viewers have used Birch Gold and are so happy with them. All right, folks. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm was going on a nationwide tour in her electric vehicle. But it's very hard to find a charging station. You will not believe why she and her team ended up getting the police called on her. We'll tell you why next.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. After months of debate, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finally gave the green light for impeachment proceedings against President Joe Biden. The case comes down to just 6 words: public offices are not for sale. Looking to next year, Biden's re-election is coming under fire from Democrats. Not only are the president's polls bad, but calls are growing for the president to step aside. A top Washington Post columnist added his name to that group, creating quite a buzz in political circles. In Virginia, Democrats are running from the Richmond State House candidate who performed sex acts on the internet for cash. She, meanwhile, is blaming Republicans for invading her privacy, as if that excuse is going to work. And how big is the Taylor Swift phenomenon? USA Today is hiring a Swiftie reporter. The job pays $100,000 a year. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to Off the Press. Go to offthepress.com.
Well, folks, you know, those on the left love their electric vehicles. They're like the holy grail of automobiles for them, right? Well, Jennifer Granholm, the energy secretary, is going on a tour up the coast, I guess, and she's driving in her electric vehicle. Well, it's becoming very clear that you got to stop a lot in these electric vehicles, and lo and behold, it's very hard to get them charged. So hard that one of her advanced team members in a gas-powered vehicle, by the way, it's only the Biden administration, parked in a spot to save it for the energy secretary so nobody else could use the charging station, waiting for her to show up. Well, someone called 911 on her.
Palm County 911.
Hi, I'm calling because I'm in the Grovetown Walmart at the charging station, and there's literally a non-electric car that is taking up the space who says they're holding the space for somebody else, and it's holding up a whole bunch of people who need to charge their cars.
Are they still there?
They're still here, but one spot opened up, which is like not them, but there's other people who are waiting to charge, and they're still here, and they're not an electric car, and the sign says that it has to. You can't park here unless you're charging.
Now, you might want to call 311 for that, not 911, but still, she gets the cops called on her. Well, the cops show up, make them move. Only the Biden administration uses a gas-powered car to save a spot for the energy secretary to get her car charged. Unbelievable. It's going to do it for us, folks. GrantStinchfield.com. I got more on Ken Paxton's Attorney General impeachment case there. Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you.
Live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. Glad you're in. Lots to do, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Slick Rick's going to do some sports. Rick Delgado's going to do the news. Good to join us on a Wednesday night. If you're in the Getter Chatter on Real America's Voice, wherever you're watching, we appreciate it. Welcome on in. Slick Rick, how are you?
I'm doing great, Big D. How are we doing tonight?
Good. How was your day?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a good day. Every day's a good day.
All right, very
out
good.
and about.
Rick Delgado, I'm afraid to ask, but how was yours?
I'm afraid to say because I'm afraid you're going to steal it again, like last night. Yeah.
I didn't steal it. What do you mean?
You did. I said I had a good day. I went and I got a lot done. You're like, I had a good day too.
I got a lot done.
There you go.
Yeah.
I had a terrible day. I spent all